Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Phatkat Collections. Got another Nubeo watch for you folks today, and this is another themed watch. If you're new to my channel and you haven't seen a lot of these amazing watches I've been reviewing for a decade now, Nubeo is a brand that's been around for a while now. They kind of came on the block years and years ago, and there wasn't a lot of brand recognition with them. And then it seems like maybe the company was maybe bought out or sold, and then that's when we started collaborating a little shortly thereafter. So it's a fantastic company. They make a really nice quality product and a very fun product. And that's what watch collecting is all about, is not only just, you know, wearing these things in good health and being able to tell time, but also like the fun involved in adding cool pieces to your collection. And so today I'm going to review or share with you guys one of their themed watches for Star Trek. So Nubeo's, they have a lot of theme stuff, right? But mainly they are a kind of a space themed brand. So a lot of NASA collaborations, a lot of interstellar kind of themed watches. Sometimes they'll theme a watch over maybe a certain rover or a satellite or a planet. In this case, this is, again, it makes total sense on why they would collaborate with Star Trek, is, you know, space exploration, right? Now, let me just tell you guys, I don't want you guys to get turned off, but I'm not really the biggest fan of Star Trek. I know. And you know, I've seen the movies. If I have to choose between Star Wars or Star Trek, I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Although I don't, you know, dress up and, you know, I joke all the time. I don't play the video games. I don't, you know, I'm not really into it like that. They're great movies. I enjoy watching them. When they're on, I watch them, right? Sometimes I'll throw it on and watch it. I grew up with that, collecting the figures, but I never really got into Star Trek. But Star Trek is equally as popular, and it's really cool that they're making watches that kind of what I call bridging the gap between people who are really into stuff like that and then watch collecting, right? There might be a guy who's never worn a watch in his entire life, but sees a Star Trek themed Nubeo and wants to add it to his collection of Star Trek collectibles, right? So what do you get? So this is the Magellan. I've reviewed about a dozen of these watches on the channel. This one, of course, is themed. I've also reviewed the Space Invaders version, so sometimes I'll do video game kind of collaborations. So this brand's kind of doing what you know, Invicta's done over the years, is to have these different collaborations, whether it's Mickey Mouse or Avengers. But they're kind of mainly keeping it in sort of the space stuff, right? So when you look at like even Space Invaders, it's a space-themed video game. Star Trek is a space-themed, you know, franchise. And so I like that they're kind of staying in their lane on that. But I hope they do collaborate more with other things, right? I don't know. That's just my opinion. So this one's pretty cool. So this one here, I'm just going to start off just by showing you, you know, I've mentioned many times with Nubeo, sometimes their themed watches are, you know, you can look right at it and see where they're going with it. Other times they're very loosely themed, like they might call a watch a name of a, let's say, a satellite, but there's not really much on the watch to really tie the two together. There's really no mistaking that this is Star Trek themed. You have the, what do you call their spaceship, I guess you can see I'm not really, is that the Starship Enterprise, am I right? Right across the whole face of the watch. So that's pretty cool. The only thing I think it would have been a little cooler if they had a little bit of a contrast there, because you don't really notice it as much until you actually like look at it. It does kind of blend in with this. You can just see that blue stripe there. It's there, but it does blend in a little bit. But still, I mean, that's just, I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking it. But this one here is called it's Troy, Troi blue. It's kind of a Smurf blue, very bright, very shocking. And it's a cool piece. Now, I love the Magellan. If you are, for you, let's just kind of move away from the whole Star Trek theme for a second. If you are a watch guy and you're familiar with like Richard Mille, you know, this is kind of like their style. They make a lot of the barrel-shaped cases. And I like, you know, I can't say I have, you know, really a favorite when it comes to a case style. I like them all, you know, whether it's round, square, rectangular, barrel-shaped, tonneau, you know, whatever. They're all equally as fun. But I do like the Magellan. When I want to kind of add a pop of color to my outfit, you know, I generally will wear a Magellan, and because they're always on these very, very colorful straps. Another nice thing I like about the Magellan is that they don't use any kind of really, although this is a Nubeo strap, should something fail with this watch, like the strap, right? Because you just wonder what the longevity is like when it comes to rubber and silicones. You know, metal lasts forever for the most part, as long as it's not, you know, being eaten away by like corrosive material or corrosive chemicals. But And again, I don't want to plant that seed like you're going to have to worry about this, but it is always in the back of my mind, only because I had a G-Shock that, 30 years, it's disintegrated. So hopefully that doesn't happen with this type of material. But point being, if it does, this is a standard lug width. So I believe it's 24 on these. You can find the replacement strap. Now, Nubeo at the moment, I don't believe offers replacement straps, but you never know. Maybe they will down the road. It would be really nice if they did. But worst case scenario, the company goes out of business, you buy this watch and the strap fails, you can find you'll always be able to find a 24 millimeter strap, whether it's leather, bracelet. This isn't gonna turn into a paperweight. So I really like that. It is available in 4 color options. You have the black, the red, sort of like a yellowish, goldish yellow, and then the blue. And so I'll show you some close-ups in a second here too. So right now they have a great price on this. Don't snooze on this. It's going for $419, but they have an early access starting from $189. Now, I don't know if that's specific colors. I don't know when that starts, but always use my coupon code. I'll put that in the description as well. Usually that code will work, but it doesn't work on all watches. So if they're having like a rock bottom sale, it may not work, but it's worth a try. So this is what they state about this watch. It says here, Nubeo proudly introduces its 3rd collaboration with the iconic Star Trek franchise. This exquisite timepiece features a captivating 3D side view of the iconic, we're going to have to nerd out a little, NCC 1701D Starship. I don't know if that's the Enterprise. I'm not sure. The intricate design captures every detail of the Starship, set against a sleek and modern backdrop that combines futuristic aesthetics and timeless elegance. Very cool. Let me show you some close-ups here. Now, for me, I'm not really, and you can see Star Trek on the side. They definitely have the branding on it, which is cool. I'm glad they have that. It really, there's no question that that's what this is. It looks like this part here is maybe the belly of the ship with the kind of that large kind of round section. Not 100% sure. But it's a great looking piece. I've always liked the Magellans. That's why I have so many in my collection. I wear them often. And this is definitely, the Star Trek guy is going to love this watch. It's a really great piece. So specifications, this is what, this is where we're going to talk the important stuff for the watch collector, the watch guy, right? So this one is an automatic. We do have an open heart. You can see sort of at like, what was that, the 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock position. Get this to focus here. It is rather small. It is kind of covered by this, I'm not sure what this red section is. That might be something out of the ship. Might be for you Trekkie guys, you'll know what that is, I'm sure. The movement on this is probably, and I say probably because I can't see the rotor. They have that exhibition window, but it's it's got like sort of decal on it. So we don't know what's in this. But usually the Nubeos generally use the NH series Seiko movements, or they'll use Miyotas. So you're getting a good quality automatic movement, whether it's a Seiko, whether it's a Miyota, whatever the case. Nobody's really making any kind of garbage. So it's a fantastic movement. You really don't need any more than that, right? 48 millimeters in case size, 17 in case thickness, 51 millimeters lug to lug. Obviously the dial color they say is blue, but you have a black and blue in this. It is I misspoke earlier, it's a 26 millimeter strap. So 26, it does taper down a little bit. 26 is a little bit harder to find than like your 20 to 24s, but you can still find this a point. Watch weight, 125 grams, and we have 5 ATMs of water resistance. It has a mineral lens, which is domed, but it is not sapphire, which is not really a big deal. I mean, in my opinion, usually when folks are buying a watch like this, you're more concerned with the look of the watch and the theme of the watch as opposed to, all the check boxes. But I say it in almost every video that I make, mineral glass is still very difficult to scratch, and so is all the different, like you have Flame Fusion, all these different companies make sort of like their proprietary crystals. Sapphire is if you were looking for the absolute best and you want to go sapphire, but it's not like these it's not like sapphire is so scratch resistant it makes these ones seem like they're not scratch resistant, right? They're all pretty scratch resistant. It's not really, to me, a checkbox that I'm really concerned with. If a watch has sapphire, great. If it doesn't, I've never scratched any watch. So it's not really a big checkbox for me. What's most important to me is, do I like the watch? Now, in this case, this doesn't really fit the bill for me because I'm not really a Star Trek guy. But it is a very cool watch. And at the end of the day, this watch, even though it is Star Trek themed, you can wear this and most people may not even really recognize that, right? And you have to kind of get close to it. If you're wearing this on your wrist and, to most people, and even yourself, really, you're just wearing a Smurf blue and black watch, right? I mean, it's going to blend well with blues. It's just a stylish watch. But when you get close, that's where you see the detail of the starship. But if you didn't have that on there, one would just say that this is just a cool looking watch, right? So I think I'm making myself clear on this. So my point is, even if if you love this color and you're not a Star Trek fan, you know, you can still rock this watch, right? Again, everybody's different. So, but I think it's very cool. I think it's definitely going to appeal to a lot of those Star Trek collectors out there. And I love, again, when they do stuff like this, it bridges a gap between folks who are into watches and of course this, you know, cool franchise, Star Trek, right? So without further ado, let's throw on the wrist. I have a 7-inch wrist. I weigh about 180 pounds. And I'm 5'8". So this is what this is going to look like on a guy my size. Gives you an idea what it might look like on you. You know, I'm definitely going to rock this. I think it looks fantastic with, you know, a blue shirt. And I actually didn't put this on today to do this video. I just happen to be wearing this shirt, and it blends really well. Everybody's different with, you know, why they collect or what they choose to wear. You know, for me personally, when it comes to watches, I like to you know, have something that's kind of noticeable, right? And if I'm wearing a blue shirt, like this is definitely going to be an easy reach for me. You know, I do like to, I don't always do it, just it kind of depends on what I'm doing. And I don't mean to make it sound like, you know, I spend hours, you know, trying to figure out what to wear. I have this involved routine, you know. I generally will just grab a watch, and if I think about it, I might say, hey, I haven't worn that in a while, and grab one. Or if I am wearing, you know, if I'm going out somewhere and I want to kind of accessorize a little bit, I might specifically choose a blue watch to wear with whatever shirt I got, right? So it just kind of depends. But don't overthink it. You know, it's a lot of times I just slap a watch on my wrist and I don't really pay too much attention. But very cool watch. And as with any Nubeo watches, the quality's there. You will definitely love this watch. And what's also nice about, I think specifically with this model, the Magellan, is if you want that Richard Mille kind of look, right? Let's say you are a watch guy, you don't care about Star Trek, putting this watch totally aside. If you are a fan of that barrel-shaped case, that tonneau style, and you want to get that Richard Mille look without breaking the bank, this is a great watch. You know, I can't speak to all the other watches you're going to find on AliExpress and eBay, but I can tell you that the quality here is great. If you're a fan of quality like Bulova, you know, Aragon, you know, Citizen, you know, what else? Invicta, all these, there's so many different brands out there. The quality across most brands is pretty darn good. You know, you're not, as long as you focus on those major check boxes. If we slap this under a, you know, 200-time magnification and we compare it to a, you know, a high-end luxury brand like a Rolex, absolutely there's always going to be little differences, right? But at the end of the day, these watches all tell time reasonably well. Really the main point in wearing a watch, aside from aesthetics and wanting to accessorize, which is why I mainly wear a watch. But, you know, you're getting 3/16 stainless steel. You're getting a decent quality crystal. You're getting a decent quality movement. At the end of the day, these watches are fantastic. And if you haven't checked out Nubeo's quality, I encourage you to give them a chance. If Star Trek is not your thing, the Magellan is made in all different color variations and different movements. You'll definitely find one that fits the bill. So thanks for watching, folks. Do remember to use my coupon code. It might save you some money. Links in the description. Subscribe to the channel, and take care.